According to Peter Boghossian, the definition of faith is pretending to know something that you don't know. These days, there's a lot of claims that people have the truth, whether they be political, claims about race, claims about astrology, or even claims about religion. Growing up, I was stuck in my political and religious beliefs. I thought, everything my parents told me had to be true because I trusted them, and I was taught to doubt my doubts before I doubted my faith. It wasn't until I got into the Army and got out of my bubble that I started to see other ideas and realized that I might not have all the answers. And eventually I even began to question whether or not my religious views were true. I've also done a lot of research into epistemology, which is the study of how we know things and the study of knowledge. Today I'm going to try to convince you to persuade you to use a reliable reasoning method to take a deeper look at least one of your beliefs. First, I'm going to show why criticizing someone's faith is unwarranted as a taboo. Second, I'm going to show why it's important to believe things that are actually true. Third, I'm going to show you a reliable reasoning method that will help us believe things based on evidence. First, we're going to talk about why criticizing someone's faith is unwarranted as a taboo. It's detrimental for us to have core beliefs that are untrue because those beliefs will shape all of our other beliefs. Philosophers like Lucretius, Epictetus, Sextus Empiricus, and Marcus Aurelius are lauded by us in our day for their bravery in combating the superstitious beliefs of their time, as well as the religious authorities. Socrates himself, when asked what his punishment should be for his heresy, said that he should be rewarded instead of punished. And a lot of religious people are able to see this and say, yeah, they were brave and they were committed to truth, but they're not able to see that people who criticize their faith today are the same. And this engenders a belief that criticizing a person is the same as criticizing a person's belief is the same as criticizing a person. And I think this is dangerous thinking. I don't think that any ideas should be above criticism, especially when these religious ideas have been shown to have negative effects on our society. Believing in untrue things is detrimental to our world as a whole. For example, we've got 50 years worth of scientific data that tell us the Earth is billions of years old, yet 50% of Americans still believe that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. 44% of Americans believe that Jesus Christ is going to come to the Earth and the Earth will end within the next 50 years. And because of these beliefs, we're having bad policy decisions and we're unable to make a sustainable civilization because we don't think we need to save the world. We need, it's okay, Jesus is going to come anyway. Believing things that based on unreliable epistemology also makes you have different priorities than if you believe things based on truth, such as stem cell research. Stem cells are very promising. It would help us cure and help diseases like Parkinson's, diseases like Alzheimer's, which my dad has, or autoimmune diseases, which I have. But President Bush vetoed the funding of stem cell research based on his religious beliefs, because he believes the soul is put into a baby at the time of conception. Prayer was also a huge decision, a big part of the decision on why President Bush invaded Iraq. In 2003, he told Palestinian leaders that God told him to invade Iraq as part of a divine mission to free the Middle East. And there's a lot of people in the U.S. that believe him because they share his faith, and God can't be wrong, despite the FBI saying that the White House had them fabricate intelligence saying that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Without a reliable reasoning method, we're going to believe things that are untrue. And in all the respondents to my survey said that they believe it's important to believe things that are objectively true. At the same time, most respondents also said that they believed a lot of things based on faith. Now that we understand the risks of believing things with a faulty reasoning method, I'm going to give you a good reasoning method that can help you believe things based on evidence. One of the main reasons why people hold some of their deeply held beliefs comes down to faith. And again, believing things based on faith is pretending to know things we don't know. Peter Boghossian said that faith is a word that one uses when one doesn't have enough evidence to hold a belief, that to warrant a belief in something, but when one goes ahead and believes it anyway. And the difference between people who believe based on faith and those who believe based on evidence is that those who believe based on evidence typically will revise their beliefs if given enough evidence, whereas people who believe on faith typically will just conform reality to fit their previous beliefs. Using a reliable epistemology is a good way to believe things that are objectively true. And it may sound complicated, but it's really not complicated. There's a guy on YouTube, Anthony Magnabosco, that goes around and has these conversations with people about some of their deeply held beliefs. And we don't have time to go look at that right now, but I can just summarize the steps that he usually takes in his conversations. The first one is to identify the belief that they're going to talk about, whether that be religious, political, or there's God, the Quran is God's word, whatever it is. And then he'll ask them, what are the reasons that they hold this belief? Typically, they'll have some sort of evidence, the historicity of the Bible, this or that. But in the end, all respondents had to use some sort of faith to hold these beliefs. And so then he'll ask, how can an outsider who comes up to a Christian and a Hindu know who has the actual truth when both of them have the same amount of belief? Those beliefs are based on faith and personal experience and emotions. And typically the person says there's no way to tell the difference, The outsider couldn't know who was right just based on what each was saying. And then Anthony will usually just have them reflect on whether or not there is sound evidence for their beliefs and if faith is a reliable reasoning method. And at this point, I would just ask you to do those steps and reflect on whether or not you're believing things based on evidence or based on faith. And then maybe do this with others as well so we can cause a ripple effect. Again, I'm not advocating one belief or another. I just think the world would be a better place if we all believed things that were objectively true. Truth is always better than falsehood or even wishful thinking. And the more people that practice a reliable reasoning method, the more informed our society will be, and the more informed we are, the better policies that we will have in place. So we can all agree that everyone has the right to believe whatever they want to believe. But I don't think that means we're not allowed to criticize someone's faith or ideas. I'm going to attack the reasoning of this argument because criticizing a belief is not the same as criticizing a person. I believe that all ideas should be up for criticism, especially because religious teachings have changed a lot over the last even just 50 years. I'm going to also attack the reasoning or reduce it to absurdity. If we were to take religious texts literally, we would be doing some pretty messed up things in our society today. Such as in Deuteronomy, it says if somebody tries to entice you to believe in a different God, then you have to kill him, strike the first blow in putting him to death, and then the hands of the rest are going to follow, and you're going to stone him to death for trying to divert you from your God. And some people might say we don't take this literally. We have different interpretations, but in that same chapter it says, God says, "Whatever I'm commanding you, you must keep and observe, adding nothing to it, taking nothing away. And by this logic, you should be trying to find me to stone me right now." Religious ideas are the same as other ideas and should be up for criticizing and critiquing. And we can begin to question our religious beliefs and be convinced of those beliefs only to the extent that there is evidence for them. Now that I've discussed the solution, let's take a look at what our future could be like. First, visualize if you decide not to take what I'm saying into account. You decide to stay with your beliefs and not to look at them critically. First, you're going to be stuck in that belief for the rest of your life. You're going to miss the wonder that comes with uncertainty. Religious wars, such as the war in Palestine, will continue. And if the war in Palestine had religion taken out of the equation, it would have ended a long time ago, saving thousands of lives. And we will also continue to have funding for stem cell and other cures vetoed on the basis of faith. But take a look now. Try to visualize what it would look like if you did take this into account. And you not only did it for yourself, but you also did it for people around you. You helped them use a reliable reasoning method as well. Benefits of this would be that sense of wonder, an open mind, being okay with uncertainty, having a genuine desire for truth, and being able to have a skeptical and scientific mind. Conflicts all over the world would be ended, and many more future conflicts would be averted, and we would continue to have medical and scientific discoveries that would better our way of life. And let that sink in for a moment. Now I'm just going to sum up the reliable reasoning method. Today I've tried to persuade you to criticize one of your beliefs using a reliable reasoning method. First, I showed that criticizing faith is an unwarranted taboo. Next, I showed that it is important to believe things that are true. And lastly, I gave you a reliable reasoning method that will help us all believe things based on evidence rather than faith. And now I'm going to ask you to do something simple. Just pull out your phone, open YouTube, look up Anthony Magnabosco, and play any of his videos of his conversations with people out on the streets. And see if it's something that is worthwhile for you to do, to question your own beliefs and help others as well to think critically. There's no better time than now to open yourself up to the gift of reason.